My boss said, follow the dress code to the letter, so I did. I worked at a corporate office for about 2 years under a manager who loved micromanaging things that didn't matter. Parking spots, coffee mug sizes, lunch break timing down to the minute. But the thing he cared about most was the dress code. We had a written policy, business casual, nothing crazy. But my manager, we'll call him Doug, decided during a slow quarter that people were getting sloppy and started enforcing it aggressively. He pulled me aside one day because my blazer was, in his words, too casual for a Tuesday, and told me from now on, everyone needed to follow the dress code policy exactly as written, word for word. No interpretation, no exceptions. I asked him to clarify what he meant by exactly as written, partly out of curiosity, partly because I already had a feeling where this was going. He said, and I quote, "I mean literally follow what the handbook says. If it's not in there, don't assume it's allowed." So I went home that night and actually read the entire dress code section of the employee handbook, word for word. And it turned out the handbook was outdated. Like 5 years outdated. It listed things like closed-toe shoes, collared shirts for men, and no visible logos larger than 2 inches, but it never once specified anything about color, pattern, or overall professionalism. It also, curiously, never said blazers or ties were required for anyone. So I stopped wearing my blazer entirely since it wasn't required. I started wearing a plain collared shirt, closed-toe shoes, and pants, exactly as specified, nothing more. Within the boundaries of no visible logos larger than 2 inches, I found novelty dress shirts with tiny cartoon patterns all over them, since none of the individual logos exceeded the size limit. Technically compliant. Doug noticed within 2 days and pulled me aside again, visibly annoyed, saying this wasn't what he meant. I reminded him calmly that he specifically told me to follow the handbook exactly as written, with no interpretation and no exceptions. He tried to argue that everyone knows what business casual actually means. I pointed out that if everyone knows, then the written policy shouldn't need to be enforced to the letter in the first place, since that was his exact phrase. He couldn't really argue with his own words, so instead he sent an email to the whole department clarifying the dress code with actual specific examples and updated language, essentially, rewriting the entire outdated policy from scratch. It took him 3 days to draft it because apparently corporate had to approve any handbook changes. Cost him 3 days of back and forth with HR over pants and collared shirts, and now the whole office has a much clearer, updated dress code because he wanted to make an example out of one blazer.